thanks. I wanted to get together with our small group leaders and anybody who's interested in small group ministry and just talk a little bit more about what's going on with groups and neighborhoods, all that kind of stuff. We've had a couple meetings and lots of talk inside the church and inside staff with specific people. But I just wanted to kind of be able to cover some of the nuances and also some of like the vision and the big picture stuff. And so this will be a little bit longer, not just a short, sweet, to the point thing, because I want to be able to work out some of the details. And I've got Chris here with me to kind of ask some questions and just kind of share some thoughts from a little bit of an outside view, like not an inside my brain view that thinks about this stuff all the time.
Sure.
And so we've got a few topics that we'll run through. And Chris and I will kind of chat about those a little bit and just jump in with questions and thoughts and that kind of stuff as we go. So the main goal of small groups is to help people find friends who help them enjoy Jesus and follow Jesus, right? Good. So one thing that we see within churches is that if you don't find what you consider to be almost like a best friend in the church, you don't stick around. Mm-hmm. And some people could look at that as a bad thing. I don't. I think we're supposed to have community at a church. So if we don't have that community, I don't want to say why would we stick around, but something is missing.
Yeah.
Right? So we want to be able to give people or help people find, because they're going to have to do some work on it themselves, friends, and then specifically friends who help them enjoy Jesus and follow Jesus. So you don't want to just become like this country club where it's like we go to the games together and we do this together and we all enjoy each other. We want to grow as followers of Christ through those friendships.
Yeah.
And I mean, just think about those friendships, that have the permission, that have the trust, that have the love to be able to speak honestly to each other.
So I've seen, I'm not going to name names, but I've seen some really good examples of this in our church, in our body. I've seen groups that have been sort of long-standing groups,
mm-hmm.
and my understanding is they started just as a small group and then developed those friendships over the course of quite a bit of time.
Right.
Because I think one of the things that's important is you can't really microwave friendships. So what you're doing is kind of the first domino, right? The first little splash in the water for some people. And I would like to be encouraging because I've had several different small groups over the years, different churches. If it's hard for you to make friends, this is actually a good scenario to kind of start with.
Yeah, and I think that's so we have a couple different kinds of small groups, and there's a reason for that, because it's hard to just get into a small group sometimes, especially if it's been going for a while.
For sure.
And then the second thing that we don't always realize, like there has to be a level of convenience and connectedness to join a small group.
Right, and some kind of thread that maybe the kids are similar age.
Right.
Of the people. Or maybe like some of the things where everybody kind of lives near the same area of town or whatever.
Exactly.
Those things can be helpful connecting pieces.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we've got a couple different kinds of small groups, and we've got small groups that meet, out of convenience. You can meet on a certain day of the week. Mm-hmm. You got small groups that have some shared interests. You got senior small groups. You got some small groups with families. You got small groups with just different kind of interests, and those can be, I think, a little messy to join. They're pretty good, but to just find one that fits my interests, my life stage, and my availability, mm-hmm. I think it's challenging sometimes. And so what we want to be able to do is to also offer ones that are convenient and where there's that connected thread, but anybody can join.
Sure.
Right? So that's where that Sunday morning geographical small group comes in. So you got these kind of like interest small groups or affinity small groups or like convenience small groups, and then you got these geographical small groups, mm-hmm. all doing the same thing. Friends that help you enjoy Jesus and follow Jesus, right? Mm-hmm. But they just have some different times that they meet and a different kind of connectivity thread.
So the geography makes me think about like neighborhood groups.
Yeah.
I know you're going to talk about that, but I don't know if this is a good segue or not, but I think there maybe needs some clarity between what's a community-based small group, or what's a neighborhood group.
Yeah.
Is one? Are they not the same? Could they be the same?
Yep.
So to clarify, that would be one thing would be helpful.
So, and this is really funny because I chat with, we're on staff together, right? We talk about stuff all the time.
Yep.
And then we notice we still are working with different definitions at times.
Yeah, right.
So you get these three main things: care communities, small groups, neighborhood groups.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And one of the challenges to these definitions is that they've changed as we've learned stuff, right? But a care community is really a group of Webster Gardens people who live in a certain area, who are going to be there to kind of support each other and encourage each other, but kind of to a degree. It's not a small group. So you're going to have a spiritual life person who's going to call people in that group just kind of as needed and check in. You're going to have a small group leader who will lead a portion of those people in that area. Only the people who want to, though. You won't automatically be in a small group because you're there. And you're going to have my third person, a communications coordinator who's going to just kind of share opportunities and things that are kind of going around the church. And they're going to do that in a Facebook group. So for each care community, they're going to have their own Facebook group. Then there's a small group, right? So you'll have
So that's a care community.
That's a care community.
That's care community.
Right. Okay. So it's not a place where you're going to find friends who help you enjoy Jesus' apologies.
So that's I would say it's a larger group of folks, a larger pool of folks, and in a certain respect, a smaller commitment.
Yeah. And not even necessarily a commitment. Because if you just live in one, you're gonna be involved in that care community. You might not do anything, but you will get phone calls. You will get checked in on.
So you might be called on to contribute or whatever. But it's not like, hey, we're gonna have a care community meeting.
Correct.
Hey, we're gonna get together a lot. It's not gonna be any of that.
And we might have a care community get together, but you don't have to come.
Okay.
Right? Like that's not a requirement. It's more, we have a spiritual life team that contacts people who just on a regular basis, just to make sure that we're loving all our members well, right? And that you're not only being cared about if you're like volunteering or in a small group, right? But so we love all of our members and check in on each other. Imagine those care communities. That's kind of where we're doing that to a degree, right? So everything is happening within that care community. And so you're a part of it, and you're going to be checked in on and supported. But you're also going to have the opportunity to get to know people who live close to you through that care community. And maybe you serve together, maybe you serve each other, just those different kinds of things, right? So in my care community, I might find out that Anna Moss lives 6 houses down from me, something like that. I'll occasionally walk over there. I'll deliver her envelopes sometimes, or I'll deliver things from the church to her and just kind of help out in different ways. I just found out Dan Cross lives, a little bit down the street from me too. And so, we might just do things to help each other out. Or we might get together with our care community, and anybody who wants to. And maybe we'll take food over to the Crestwood Police Department. Maybe we'll bless our community in some way together. Maybe we'll do like the neighbors care event together if we live close, right? So think about that care community as almost like a little church, right? You might kind of be on the outskirts, right? You may kind of be somewhat invested, or you might be super invested.
So it's a local sort of pod of people, like an extension of Webster Gardens.
Yeah, bingo.
And you just, like it says, you just care for people, care for them.
Yeah. And again, people are going to have different levels of commitment to that. So, but a small group's going to be a place where you're going to have more investment, and you're going to be more connected, and you're going to be more involved in being a friend to someone and helping them enjoy Jesus and follow Jesus, and having somebody be a friend back to you and helping you enjoy Jesus.
So exhort, encourage, those kind of behaviors.
Yeah. And that one I'm going to join, right? I'm not just going to get plugged into, right? I'm not just going to, be on the membership of it. Right? So I'm going to join that one. And so that's where, when we talk about some of these care community small groups, each care community will have the opportunity to join a small group, right? So if I live in Crestwood West, there will be a Crestwood West small group that I can join if I want to.
So you have, by the way, some of these things sort of literally mapped out.
Oh, literally mapped out.
Like, so, this neighborhood and that neighborhood, and even, sort of list of people, hey, these people live in Webster and they live in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
So it's pretty easy.
Right.
Right? It's pretty easy to try to connect.
Yeah, and it's not perfect. Like, I remember Pastor Christensen saying this several weeks ago in one of our little meetings between services. We're going to own the mistakes or own the flaws of the things that we're doing. Because nothing we're going to do is going to be perfect. And that one of the flaws is you just don't know each other as well, right? And there's other flaws to getting together on Sunday mornings in only 50 minutes, which we'll talk about that in a sec.
Sure.
But it's easy to join, right? And I think sometimes what's tough is that it's too hard to find a small group that fits all that marks all your boxes, right? So I want a small group of people like me. I want people who are interested in, football and basketball, people who, whatever, yada, yada, yada. I can't check all those boxes. So I'm not going to join a small group. So these should be easy and they should be convenient, because now if you want to hang out with somebody from your small group, or if you want to meet at somebody's house, it's very close, right?
Sure.
And one of the things that I think we discover in building friendships is they have to be convenient, right? They either have to be close. I have some friends who live like 20 minutes away, still in St. Louis. I never hang out.
Right.
It's too far away.
It's practically Columbia.
It's practically Columbia. So that's another reason for care communities, small groups, geographically based small groups. So we've got care communities, we've got small groups, and we've got neighborhood groups. Neighborhood groups are probably the most unclear to a degree, but a neighborhood is going to be around 30 to 50 households, right?
Like period. Or are you talking about Webster households?
I'm talking about, households, period, not Webster households.
Okay.
So anybody.
So like I live on a street that's kind of to itself.
Right.
So it's kind of my street then. Whatever's on my street.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, just whenever you think about a neighborhood, and defining your neighborhood, it's going to be somewhat geographically blocked. It's going to have boundaries based on busy streets, dead ends, things like that. And just thinking about your neighborhood as that. When I say 30 to 50 households, it might be a little higher, it might be less. I think BK has like 12 people, and he's kind of on a cul-de-sac.
Yeah, and I lived on a cul-de-sac some years ago, and it's whatever that feels like an enclave, right? Right, its own group.
Correct. Yeah, it would be awkward to add more to that and to just force more houses in.
Yeah,
because you wouldn't actually be close to each other. You wouldn't actually naturally walk by each other. Sure. And so it could be. It's going to be based largely around those. The big factor in this definition, though, is that it has nothing to do with Webster Gardens members, apart from a Webster Gardens member starting.
Right. So it could be anybody in your neighborhood. Okay, so what's interesting is I didn't realize I'm basically already in there.
Correct.
I have a neighborhood group.
Correct.
We do have one other family a few houses down that are members at Webster. But apart from us two in our neighborhood, we're just neighbors.
That's your neighborhood group.
Yeah, but right? we know almost all of our neighbors.
And which is fantastic. Fantastic. And this is where like the neighborhood group, I think, becomes exciting, is because this is a place with people who God just put around you. They're not just like you. You didn't choose them. It's not you just saying, I'm going to hang out with people who are like my friends, right? These are people who God has around you. And you have the opportunity to share his love with, right? Now, just going back just a second, an HOA might kind of define your neighborhood, or your neighborhood group, or you might have to start your neighborhood group and define it, right? I live off Lodge Pole. I live off a small street off Lodge Pole. There's kind of like a circle around it. And we didn't have anything. So I just said this is what I think our neighborhood is, right? So I created a Facebook group. I took a Google Maps picture of it. And I said, hey, this is our neighborhood group. Anchorage Circle Lane, neighborhood group. Yeah. And that's just what we call it. And we invited everybody to it. Now that could change at some point. I don't know if other people think it should be bigger or smaller. We can absolutely adapt. But it's about 36 houses, and that's kind of what I think of as our neighborhood. And so those are that those are the people who I would kind of think of as in my neighborhood, and in my neighborhood group. And then, so I got to think about the boundaries and how are we going to talk, right? So I created a Facebook group, I created the boundaries, define kind of what it is, and then create a way for us to communicate.
So think through this with me a little bit. People are busy. I think it's safe to say that people want to have friends.
I hope so.
I mean,
I think you're right.
we try to strip it down to the things that we could all agree.
Sure.
I think we want all of us want to have friends. I think all of us are interested in knowing in a friendly way our neighbors. Maybe not best friends or whatever, but just, hey neighbor,
Right.
and whatever.
Right.
But and a care community sounds like a great idea, an extension of the church geographically. If I'm doing all those things, suddenly I feel like I'm super busy.
Yeah.
So is there a way to prioritize this, or is there a way to think about it in a way that's like less, I'm going to use a terrible word, but less obligatory and more like, this is a logical way that I can love this kind of neighbor.
Yeah, I think so.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
I think one, understanding like the time commitments of them is important, and for us to learn those things. So one thing we did incorrectly this year is that we did like 6 church-wide neighborhood events. That's just too many.
Yeah.
To do a neighborhood event every other month, it's just too much, right? We're busy, and like you said. And so for us, I think to kind of understand those expectations. But I think things like the care community, right? There's not going to be, you're going to be reached out to there. You might volunteer in a role to help out with that, right? You might become a communications coordinator, a spiritual life caller, or something like that, or maybe a small group leader for your area. But apart from that, it's not going to be a big time commitment. You're going to get resources, ideas kind of on how to be a good neighbor, and you're going to get encouragement from other people, right? But it's not going to be like a big time involvement group. The neighborhood group, and this is the reason I love it, is like, it's not going to be tons of events and things that you're managing all the time, right? You're identifying who you're going to be reaching out to, and then you're creating a way for the people in that neighborhood to make that neighborhood better together, right? So you're going to kind of throw whatever time into it that you can.
Which there's little snippets or like snatches of time that it's not like I have to plan a half hour to encounter my neighbors.
Right.
If I walk outside in my car, I'm likely to encounter somebody, and I'll have, as long as they're not in a hurry, I'm not in a hurry, I'm going to have a 5-minute conversation.
Right. It's that type of
Off
stuff.
the cuff.
Right.
Right. So you can develop some of those kind of relationships, the neighborhood relationships,
Right.
less concentrated on what kind of time am I going to commit,
Right.
and more just open to when an opportunity presents itself.
Bingo.
Take it.
And if you
talk
have
to
the
them.
time.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the other day I was talking to a neighbor who, some of my neighbors through 2 houses down, they just had a little boy, right? And so I knew I could do something. I knew I had a little time. I meal prep on Sundays, so I just added a lasagna to that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right? Make a lasagna, I walk it over there.
Yeah.
If I didn't have time to make the lasagna, I probably would have bought him a $25 gift card to DoorDash or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So just thinking about what fits into my schedule, but how am I intentionally loving people? And then this we'll talk about more in the future. How do I bring them into it to make the community better together?
Sure.
That's where like the neighbors care event really came in, right? So it's one thing that we noticed that doesn't all work well. Some examples I can share. I'm not going to that. Yeah. We go into places and we try to just change them to our culture and make it better, right? What we really want to do is we want to bring people together to make an area better together, right?
Sure.
So how do I bring my neighbors into making our neighborhood better together, right? What do they want to do? What do they think would be a good idea? So it shouldn't be all the work on you, right? It's not you're planning every event or you're coming up with every idea.
Sure.
As you connect neighbors to each other, you'll start to see other neighbors. So again, my neighbor's a few houses down. You'll see other neighbors want to take care of them too.
Sure.
Oh yeah, they'll want to provide. I'm not doing everything, but identifying the group and creating a communication vehicle and connecting other people to each other so that we can, bless each other there.
Yeah. So I think that's just get to know your neighbors and just really actually just love your neighbors.
Yeah.
Right. Just take the initiative and do that.
And help them get to know each other
Yeah.
and create a way to talk regularly.
Sure.
Because I think that often is the factor that misses, is if you don't have a way to talk or follow up, it's tough to love consistently.
I just want to say something nice about that. I think that's really old fashioned and really, I think what's needed in society.
I like it.
I saw some study recently that talks about conversations, like actual, like we're doing now.
Right.
Conversations are kind of an antidote to loneliness, and an antidote to being glued to screens like we are so much, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So, it just really hit me in a place where I was like, oh man, I do value that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good. I just want to kind of put a plug in for that, because I think I don't focus on, or reflect on, hey, I valued that when I talked with my neighbor. Like we got together with some neighbors recently, and I wasn't focused on, man, that was really beneficial to us to just converse. Mm-hmm. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, that was really good.
Yep.
I mean, it was really good. And I don't think it really even went anywhere. Like we didn't solve any world's problems or anything. We just talked about our kids and talked about just life, and it was good to share.
Yeah.
It was good to share.
It's good to know and be known. Yeah. I mean, God created us to be in community, right? His very nature created us in His image, and His nature is the triune, right? His nature is Father, Son, and Spirit. Right. So we're created to be in community. So when we don't have that, it hurts a little bit.
So that's neighborhood groups,
right?
And help. That's helpful. Thank you. So small groups, though. I think you wanted to talk more about that.
Yeah, because I want people to be able to join small groups, and I think that's a really important just growth area for us, right? If you're a part of a big church, you can easily get lost. You can hear something from the sermon and want to implement it, but you maybe choose not to, and nobody knows, right? You join a small group though, and you get that opportunity to get known and know each other, and you start, I think, being able to love and be loved in more intentional ways, and so people can get to know you and actually support you, and you can offer things to other people and say, hey, I'd like to grow in this area, and they can help you grow in that area, right? Support partners, accountability partners, stuff like that, but also people who will remind you of the gospel, right, when you fail. I mean, I think it's a huge, obviously a huge benefit of the church is to be able to confess my sins, and whether it's clear or just general, and to be reminded that I'm loved and forgiven.
So you tell me if I'm totally headed down the wrong trails. It's okay. I would say I think I have about 4 small group experiences historically for me.
Yep.
Some successful and some not.
Right.
I've led some and I've not led some. Some successful and some not.
Yep.
So I think what I've learned over the years is that I don't understand the secret ingredient to make a successful small group every time.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't know, like we have people all over the map in this particular house, people who've been in small group for 10 years and it's been wonderful.
Right.
And people who tried small group and got injured.
Right.
Right? And everything in between. So we're seeing the most successful churches that aren't Webster Gardens are thriving kind of in the small group way, right?
Yeah.
Different kinds of churches, different denominations, whatever. But that's one of the things that is working for them is small groups. So what would you say to encourage any one of those people? You've had a successful small group, now you can do this.
Yeah.
Or you've been burnt.
Yeah.
Why don't you try again?
Right.
Because, there's a wide range of folks to try to appeal to here.
Well, and people I think often know what they need, at least to a degree, and they can see through things that aren't necessarily good for them. Right? So we were talking to the small group leaders a little bit, and just saying, we're working these recruitment tables, right? Which we'll talk about in a sec. We're not trying to recruit people to do things that they don't want to do, right? We're trying to give people, I think, a gift that we like, right? A gift that I have that I like, right? I like having friends who help me enjoy Jesus and follow Jesus. I think other people would like that too. So we want to help people experience that, right? And so I think first, just kind of recognizing, it's not about numbers. It's not about Zach's pride. It's not about that kind of stuff. Sure. But it's about helping people to find friends who help them enjoy Jesus and follow Jesus.
So what's going to happen in the gym on Sundays?
Yeah, so on Sunday mornings from 9:30 to 10:20, we're going to be in the gym in between worship services, and small groups, the care community small groups, are going to be able to meet in the gym.
So the geographically laid out one.
Right. So like if you live in Crestwood West, which we kind of have a map and we drew just kind of boundaries as to what Crestwood West is, what Crestwood East is. And it's just based on how many people are there and kind of what some natural boundaries are. And, some different things. We want to have enough people, but not too many people in each one. And so there will be a table set up for like Crestwood West in the gym, and anybody who lives in that area can join that small group. So again, convenience, but also a commonality. So you live in a similar area, maybe aren't in the same life stage, there might be different things, but you live close and you can just join. You don't have to sit there and figure out, is this a good fit? Is this whatever? You can just join. You can just be there. The other thing is we will have somebody kind of teaching for the first 10 to 15 minutes. And so you'll kind of get some extra information on following our fall curriculum on the sermon and that kind of stuff. Either myself, Pastor McGinley, or Pastor Christensen will come and teach.
Will that be like for the whole gym group, or will that be like per table, geographic, or how's that going to look?
So all the tables, all the geographic all the care community small groups will be at, they might not be at a table, but just kind of a circle of chairs in an area, and they will all listen to the message, right? They'll all listen to the teaching.
The message is for the whole gym.
Yep. Okay. And then they'll break out in discussion questions to talk about that. Cool. Yeah. So that's what their kind of small group will look like. Now they will encourage most of them to kind of stay like that for the year in the gym on Sunday mornings. And that way we can just support them better. I think sometimes it's hard to start a small group just off-site without that intentional support and being around each other. Sure. So we kind of support them more intentionally and better. And then after that year, that next year they kind of want to start and meet somewhere else, assuming that's what their whole group wants. Again, expectations. Sure. Then that's something that they can do. Yeah, so they could go, if they're from Fenton, they could say, hey, instead of meeting here on a Sunday morning in only 50 minutes, maybe we'll meet on Tuesday nights in Fenton at my house or at somebody else's house.
Yeah, we'll do a barbecue or something.
Barbecue, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that makes it simple.
Yeah.
So you have it on ramp,
Right. And again, there's flaws to it, right? Like it's not perfect, but no plan is really going to be perfect. But it's easy to help the members of our church find friendships that are going to help them enjoy Jesus and follow Jesus. Good. And that's what we want to be able to do. We want to be able to give that to everyone. And again, you might not be deep friends with everyone in your small group, but we want you to find somebody who you can do that with. And then you may get together with that person or those people more outside of your small group time too. Sure. It's really fun. So on Sunday, this upcoming Sunday, the 22nd, right? 22nd. We're going to have opportunities to sign up for either of these, for a kind of an interest small group, right? Which will have an interest form, and we'll try and connect you to a small group that would be a good fit. Or we'll have sign-ups just for these geographical care communities. Sure. They can just sign up for. You just sign the geographical form, and you're in your care.
We have that like the map resources out there for people to understand where they fall
Yeah.
into the.
We will have the screens out and help people kind of look and figure out where they fall into. And then on August 23rd, we're actually going to send, and this might be a little complicated for people, but we're going to send an invite from Mapline to everybody in our congregation. And that way they can create a login and they can actually look at their care community.
So Mapline is like an app and an online resource that will show that grouping.
Correct.
Show a geographical grouping of,
Correct.
hey, this is what we're considering, Webster North.
Right.
And so here's what that looks like, and here's all the people who would be in that group.
Bingo.
Okay.
Yeah.
And will that go up? That'll go up then just to, like the Webster North one that I just referenced, would go up just to Webster North?
Correct. Yeah. So you'll only get the map of the people who live in your care community because we don't want to send out everyone's data to everyone.
Well, and also you don't want to confuse people.
Correct.
That's smart. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks. We try and do some smart things.
I like smart.
On occasion.
It's good to start smart.
That's right. And then on the dates are messing me up.
29th?
August 29th and September 5th, we will have more small groups present on Sunday mornings. And so we'll be in Friendship Hall and we'll give you kind of the people the opportunity to maybe meet some people from different small groups.
Good. Yeah.
And meet some people from the geographical small groups.
So connect to a map, connect to some people, and then September 12th, we're having you all come.
Correct.
And then it's going to be like, hey, we're gathering.
Yeah. Okay. So on September 12th, everyone will kind of go over the same curriculum, whether you're in the gym or not. But we're going to talk for the first 2 weeks. We're going to talk about what it's like to be in a small group, and what it means to be in a small group. Again, expectations a little bit. Expectations on my side. We'll let people talk about expectations on their side, and then we'll talk about how do we support each other and how do we support each other in reaching out. Right? How do we reach out and support people around us who don't know Jesus? And then we're going to do a curriculum for like 3 weeks that's called Prosper the City. And this is just going to be kind of saying, how do we use our skills together and our time and our assets? It's an asset mapping kind of based curriculum to say, how do we bless our community? Right? So what we're trying to do is two things. We're trying to get us to support each other and think outwardly. But also we bond through serving together. So a lot of times when somebody comes to church and they say, hey, I really want to get connected, one of the things I'll suggest is a mission trip. If you go on a mission trip, you serve together, right? You're going to get to know each other better, right? So it's kind of like you go through something together, you have an experience together, and you start to connect. And so that's why we're starting with this curriculum about, hey, this is what a small group is, and let's go through something together and be proud of what we did together. And now we'll go in and just kind of looking at scripture more, more regularly. And so what the care community small groups will do after those 5 weeks or after those 6 weeks, on the 6th week, we'll celebrate what we did. Then we'll kind of start following the sermon series and just start talking about the Bible and we'll be learning more about that. So just to do I think maybe a little bit of a recap on what we're going through. A care community is kind of a larger body of church members and giving them the opportunity to support each other and just be supported by the church. And be shared some resources on how to kind of love their neighbor well. And then we'll give each of them the opportunity to be in a care community small group. So there'll be a small group for each care community, and there'll be other small groups out there too. But a small group is a place where you're going to find friends who help you enjoy Jesus and follow Jesus. Mm-hmm. Probably going to be between around 8 and 16 people or 6 and 12 people. And then a neighborhood group is a group of non-Webster Gardens members and maybe some Webster Gardens members, but who live in the same neighborhood. We're going to work together to make the neighborhood better.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's going to be a place where you are pulling your neighbors together to make the neighborhood better together. So it's going to be a neighborhood group.
It's good.
Cool.
I love it.
Good.
Nice.
All right, Chris. Thanks, man. Thanks for being able to chat and help me work some of the stuff out.
September 12th, be there.
Be there.